welcome to C#. Now, we're going to start this out by looking at the course in Blackboard, what to expect, and we'll talk about C# and some of the things that you're going to come across while dealing with MindTap. So we've got to the left your dashboard syllabus. If you click syllabus, that'll take you to my faculty homepage, and you'll be able to view any of my syllabi for any of my courses. Start here. That'll give us some information about the course, but we'll focus on course content units. So the course content units, if we select that, that'll give us a list of all the units, and the units are 0 through 1. 0, 1, and so on. And in Unit 1, we actually do some work. Unit 0 is kind of like that first day in class. Welcome to the class, and here's where we are. So this is a mix of Unit 0 and Unit 1 together. So in Unit 1, here's the overview. Here's what we're going to deal with in the course. And if we scroll down, you could see the deliverables, what you're going to be able to do when we finish this chapter, what course learning outcomes are associated with this chapter, and then what it is you need to do. You need to do some reading, some practicing, watch video or two. You've got a discussion you need to interact with, and then you've got some programming exercises. 1-1, 1-2, 3, 4, we'll skip over 5, do 6, then when it's all over with, you'll have a little quiz to take. If we look here, here's the practice items. First, program using C#, and then down below are your graded items. So if we look at the practice stuff, here's all the practice stuff. Preview, some reading, there's a little video. That just breaks it down step by step. Here's some Microsoft videos for you to watch. They are well worth the time. Okay. So if we go back, and this video that I'm recording now will be in here as well. If we go back to content units, this is what we would have seen if we clicked on course content units. Item by item. So if we go into Unit 1, we could scroll down, and here's our graded items. These are the things that you're going to get some credit for. There's a discussion that we'll take care of a little bit later on. And then here's that quiz I told you about. If we click on this programming exercise 1-1, first time you click on this, you may have to go in and enable pop-ups. Now, the preferable browser for what we do in this course is Chrome. Firefox will also work, but Chrome is the one that they've developed the most for. So we'd have a couple different ways. In the upper right hand corner, you can have a drop down, go to settings, and that'll open up a new page, and then you could scroll down to advanced settings. We're going to need to allow pop-ups. We'll come to, let's see here. Content settings. Yours may be in a different location, but it'll say content settings. Pick content settings, and I want to scroll down a little bit. I want to ask first for Flash or allow Flash to run, but I need to allow pop-ups. I could go manage exceptions and enter the Cengage in there as an exception. It's easiest for me to just allow pop-ups, and then when I'm done, go turn them back off again. So we say done. This will get us back, and if I click that link, it'll open up and we'll get a new window, and there we go. Now the first time you enter this, it's not going to take you directly to this. So it's going to ask you to go create an account, and you'll need to create an account. You have a certain time frame that you can access this for free without having to purchase the ebook or the MindTap software bundle. Now, I'm not saying that this is free. It's not. There's very few courses that we have here at this institution that don't have a textbook. This has textbook and it has the software that you can interact with this system from home. You may run into some issues when using Mac because of the operability of the system, the keystrokes that you need. So there are some workarounds. So if we start this assignment, it's taking me to programming exercise 1-1. Says it's ready, and we'll go ahead and start it. And for this lab, or this exercise, it gives you instructions. It says here's how you're going to be evaluated. Now I've already typed in the code, and I know this works. I can go run the code, and we see the output over here. I can test the code. Testing's that has Cody, this little robot you see in the bottom corner. That system will go and evaluate your code to see if it does what the system expects it to do. Now for this one, I'm still not happy with this first exercise that they've given us because it is problematic to a degree. Because they're not specific enough what they want you to output. They do say, write, compile, and test a program named personal info. Well, here it is. Personal info, personalinfo.cs. So we've created something. It's a console application, and we are using static system.console. So there's a system namespace that exists. We're going to use it, and we're going to use console that's within it. So, with that said, we're going to back up and look at this and see, let's test it, see what it does. It says your program is done being tested. 3 of 3 tests were passed. Click here for details. Come on, Cody, show it to me. There we go. I'll open it up. Test results. 3 of 3 passed. It says checks for work/cell numbering code. And it says that it's looking for work followed by 3 numbers dash 3 numbers dash 4 numbers. It says that it passed for the date. It says all it's looking for is the date. And it says test for output code for name. So it's looking for some text. Now, what if I didn't have the word work or the word cell, or I put birth date in there? What if I did that? Would this run? Well, it still runs. We used the write line function to go ahead and output some text. Did it twice. And then the birth date, we output that, and name Fred. Let's test it to see how we did. Being tested, and it says it only liked 1 of the 3 tests that it checked us on. It says work cell, wrong. Birth date, failed. Still likes name. So will it like it if I only give it Fred? I'll run it again. Test it again. Yeah, I suspect it still likes Fred. So birth date, for whatever reason, they don't want the word birth date. Let's put a space in front of those numbers. And we run them again. There's the numbers. We test it. It says 3 out of 3. So for whatever reason, this is looking for this string of characters, a space followed by 3 numbers, dash 3 numbers, dash 2222. Doesn't necessarily tell us that over here. So if you went along and followed the directions and did what you interpret these directions as saying, and wrote it out the way that I initially had it, work, sell, or just put the phone number without that space in front. Put the word birth date. It would have given you some errors and it would not have given you full credit. So the long and short of this, you can go through these as many times as you want and get it dialed in to where it gives you 100%. If you're having an issue with it, highlight it, copy it, paste it into a Word document, and send it to me in the course mail system. Send me the file. That way I can use your code and go see what it's doing. All right, we'll go back and forth and we'll get you on track to find out what it is. It could be the system. You may not be doing anything wrong. It could just be that the system's looking for something and you found another way to do it. And there's no problem with how you're doing it. But for whatever reason, the system doesn't understand what you're doing. So we'll get through this. It is a great application. It's a great way to learn coding. But it, much like anything else that we deal with in the world, it's not perfect. So we're slowly working through any of the little bugs that exist. So understand how that's happening. Now, that is working. Let's come over here and look. Using static system.console. What would happen if I got rid of console? I go ahead and try to run this. I get an error. And it says no such file or directory. Wait a minute, what's going on? What am I missing? What if I just said using system? Will that run? Now it says, wait a minute, we've got a problem. It says, I don't know what this right line is. Now, right line, that is within that console. So I could go and just type this in, console.WriteLine, and console.WriteLine, console.WriteLine, and go see if it works. Oh, look there, it works. Rather than having to type console every time, we'll just go ahead and get rid of it. And then up top, we'll just reference system.console. Now, that's static. Let's see if we run again. It says, wait a minute. It wants that dot. Let's see how we work now. And there we go. So it is very particular about how we enter the code. Now, since I'm using this in what we call a command line type of interface, I don't have to pass this main method any arguments. So we've got a class of code. It's called personal info. In that class, it has a main method. Okay, so our mains, that's the starting point for our code. Everything runs from the main. We need to have a main in whatever we do. So if we have a main, when we go to run this code, I run it here, it looks for a main. I can have other methods, but it looks for the main method. It starts executing line by line sequentially. Okay, now our programming allows us, this object-oriented programming, to reuse code that's been created already to our advantage. Somebody's already created this right line code, that method. They've already created the console class. So this functionality exists, and we can use it over and over again. I'll just create an instance of it and use my version of it. Now, this right line method, it requires some argument, or needs an argument. Could be more than one argument. In this instance, we passed it a string of characters. They may be numbers in appearance, but they are characters. You see these quotation marks, anything in between them, is the value that's being passed to that right line method. Now that right line, if we pass it a value, it then displays outputs to a console application. If we were using Visual Studio, we would have to pass an argument to it. So let's go look at Visual Studio and what we have going on there. So here we go. We've got Visual Studio, I've got it up and running. And in Visual Studio, I've got, get it to where you can see it. Okay, we'll start out. We'll say File, New, Project. And we could have a Windows Forms app, which that's something we'll do quite a bit of later on. And we could do a console app. Let's go do a console app and give it a name. Right lines. Go ahead and say OK, and it gave it that same solution name. So it's going to build a program for us called Right Lines. Now, I put a space in there. Programmers and systems don't like spaces in names. So we'll deal with that as we move forward by avoiding these spaces. We'll have one word as it appears, and we'll have what we call camel case. The first character will be lowercase, and then the first character of the next word would be uppercase. We call it camel case. Now, in this environment, you see it says we're going to use, or using system. Using system collections generic. Using system link. Using system text. So there's a great deal of stuff that we're using by default. And static void main. Now that's different in this respect right here. String arguments. We don't see that here. And that's because that's fairly unique to this Microsoft Visual Studio IDE. Integrated Development Environment. Integrated, it's integrating everything about this Windows system into the development of this code, or this program. There's a great deal virtually lying underneath this program. It's a framework of namespaces and classes. There's a great deal of stuff that exists that we can build upon. So a namespace, that's a collection of classes, interfaces, structs, enums, and delegates. And we're going to create many classes, and I can reuse classes that already exist, and by creating an instance of a class that I've created or an instance of a class somebody else has created, we call that creating an object, or object-oriented programming. So with this, we don't have that console in here. So let's start out. Right line. I'll put my quotation marks. I'll say hello class. And then I'll terminate the line with a semicolon. Say I need a big W there. I don't want right lines. And it automatically thought it knew what I wanted and overrode it for me. I want right line. It says, and this is IntelliSense telling me the name right line does not exist in the current context. So I haven't said using that console. Let's come down. Using, it gave me the option, space, system, dot. Now, I need console, but console's not there. So let's come back. Let's say static, space. Now let's see if it's there. Dot, C, O, and there it is, console. So here's our console class. Now that's enabled. And if I scroll down, right line, we'll get rid of that underscore. And there we go, right line. So if I run this, now we've got to build this code. And building it takes it and assembles it together in a way that everything this code needs to run exists. So we'll go ahead and build it. We'll build the solution. It'll take a second run. It says we've succeeded. Nothing failed, nothing skipped. So I can start this program. Now this is a command line interface. You'll see it pop up. It says it doesn't like my path to my campus drive since I'm at home. Let me go ahead and start without debugging. It says here we go, hello class. Press any key to continue. There it was. That was a command line. Try and run it again. It's going to say, hey, it doesn't like where I'm trying to run from. I'll go ahead and run it again without debugging, and there we go. Okay, so there we go. Hello class. I can press any key and it'll go ahead and terminate. So that's our first program. Like I said, don't let MindTap stress you out, because this is going to be a little awkward from time to time. In our minds, we have this idea of what our code should look like. And it's not always perfect, but we don't like admitting that we're wrong. So it's just a matter of sending me a message with the code in it and let me know what's going on there. Now, you'll see dates. I'll have dates within the MindTap system. So if I go ahead and close this, there's a calendar, and you can see what's coming up, what's due within the next week. I can click over to the right. It kind of looks like cell phone bars laying on their side. And I can scroll down and see what dates, and you would see dates over here next to things that you have that are due. They're graded items. Now, some things you may see that you can go do, but there's no grade associated with it. I don't want to lock you out of things that could benefit you when it is not graded, but it doesn't mean you still can't do it. Okay. We've got some directions up here in the Unit 0. So you've got different things. There's a rubric for the discussions. And I've got some more stuff coming in here. But in this course, most of what you're going to do is going to be in MindTap. So it's going to be a back and forth in MindTap. We do have some projects that we're going to do. And you'll see there's a project P1, Project 1. We'll deal with that in Unit 3. Project 2's in Unit 8. And you've got another project in Unit 14. There's a great deal that we cover in this course. A great deal of material. So when you have problems or questions, come over to Course Mail. Shoot me a message. You can send it internally or you can send it through the college email. Okay? So I look forward to talking to you, and ask questions when you have them.